Welcome. We're here to talk about the state of Black Texas. I'm Dr. Richard Johnson. I'm the director of the Booker T. Washington Initiative and a senior fellow for urban education for the Texas Public Policy Foundation. I'm joined by my colleague and great friend, and I just call her partner, Mandy Drogan, and she is the director of the Next Generation initiative at Texas Public Policy Foundation, and we work together hand in hand, Mandy. Mandy and I are going to have a lively discussion today, and we're going to talk a little bit about education in the African American community, where we stand in terms of education. But before we get to that, Mandy, there's something going on in the ethos right now. There's something going on in the environment, and it's focused specifically on Black men. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I want to talk about that is because we're coming up on an election, and the former president came out, former President Barack Obama came out and really scolded Black men and told them, look, and tried to shame them into voting for the liberal side, for the left, the liberal left, and then really scolded them and told them how upset he was with them and how, he had a problem with them right now, Black men. And what they should do is go out and vote for this candidate that he says vote for. And I think that that's so offensive. I think it's degrading. And I was mortified when I saw that. I blew my stack. So it took me about 5 days to calm down so we can come on to the show and talk about it. But, I want to have an engaging conversation about that, because that's what's going on in America right now. Not just Black America, but it's bubbling and boiling over.
And our education system, this identity politics. It's not about what's good policy. It's not about what's good for the individual to thrive and America to flourish. It's about that identity. What color's your skin? How do you identify your sexuality? All of it. That's what they're playing on. It's straight out of the Marxist playbooks, to be real honest.
Yeah, if you're a woman, you need to vote for this person because they're a woman.
That's right.
If you're Black, you need to vote for this person because he or she is Black. Mm-hmm. But here's the deal. They used to say the devil's in the details. I'm looking for the policy. And when the former president, Barack Obama stands up and says, I don't want to talk about policy right now. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about what the brothers are doing. Well, look, the brothers are trying to read the policy. The brothers are going through the policy saying, wait a minute. This is not working for me. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that just happened overnight. We've been watching this probably for the last 15 years. And as more and more of the brothers wake up, I don't know who his brother is, but the more and more brothers like us wake up, the more we're moving toward strong Christian values. Mm-hmm. Great economic policies, fiscal policies. Putting our families in a situation where we can prosper, where America can be free and not be dependent upon the government. And interesting thing, you and I had that conversation a moment ago, and I did not know that you had done your dissertation on housing, and that is one of the big spears in the heart of the Black family.
Yep.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So I told you that my master's degree is in urban planning and real estate development. And to finish my master's, my research was on how the Black family was destroyed by housing policies, and looking back at the family unit, the nuclear family unit that is so vital to the Black community, but to every community. It is the foundation of Western civilization. In fact, we can go back and look at these communists and Marxists from the past. Gramsci is one of them. He was this famous Italian communist who said the only way to destroy Western civilization was to destroy the church and the family. And I would say that the housing policies of the 1960s, where that the road to hell is paved with the best intentions, right? The government came in and told families in the inner city, the urban families, that if there wasn't a man, and at that point it was less than 20% out of wedlock single motherhood in the African American communities, they came in and said, if you don't have a man, we'll take care of you, but you can't have a man here. You cannot have a man living here. And we've just seen the utter destruction of the nuclear Black family in particular. And we were talking about these numbers. I mean, we're over 70% of families in the Black community that don't have a father in the household. And it's a problem for your community. But that begs the question of, you talked about Barack Obama shilling for Kamala Harris, playing the identity politics, right? Black men, you should vote for her because she's Black or half Black or whatever the breakdown is. And then to women, you should vote for her because she's a woman. I want to vote for the person that has the best policies. I don't care if I like them. I don't care if I want to sit down and hang out with them. I want to know who has the best policies that's going to help my family thrive and prosper and America thrive and prosper. So can you tell me, as a Black man, as a brother, what is it that Black men are looking for? What policies do they care about? Not the identity politics, but the policies that you think will really impact their vote in this presidential election.
I can tell you exactly what the brothers want, because I'm a brother.
Yeah.
One of the things the brothers want to be able to take care of their families. We fall in love, we get married, we have children, just like everybody else.
That's right.
And we love our children just like everybody else. We want to take care of our children just like everybody else. And there's nothing better in the world, Mandy. There's nothing better in the world than having a good, honest job and being able to pay your bills.
Yeah.
That's what Black men want. Black men want to go to work, earn a decent living, and take care of their families and come home and have barbecue and on weekends and go to baseball games and on the weekends and be the little league coach. Those are the things that Black men want and desire in America. We don't want a handout. We don't mind, just like everybody else. This is America. We don't mind a hand up, but we don't want a hand out.
Yep.
We want to take care of ourselves. We want to keep our heads up with dignity. And we don't want to be in shame. Like, former President Obama tried to shame us into doing something that we don't want to do, that we know is wrong to do.
Yeah.
And by and large, most Black men in America came up in a Christian household. Most of us came up in a Christian household, just like most Americans.
That's right.
And most of us were taught the golden rule. We were taught to love thy neighbor as thyself. Mm-hmm. We were taught to honor and cherish marriage, honor and cherish the woman. We were taught all those things. And then for someone to tell us we're supposed to vote for somebody or a group that says it's okay to kill babies. No, that's not okay. It doesn't say that in the Bible. It says the exact opposite. Or it's okay to go along with a group that can't tell you what a woman is. Or go along with a group that says that men are to play in women's sports, to dominate women. Or to go along with a group that says it's okay for a man to marry another man. These things are diametrically opposed to what we were taught in a Christian household. And so there's an old saying in the Bible that says, train up a child in the way they should go and they will not depart from it. And so we have not departed from that. And so as this group over here, the Barack Obama fan club over there, and the group of knuckleheads, self-proclaimed knuckleheads. We didn't call them a knucklehead. They call themselves knuckleheads. The knuckleheads over here want to go in that direction. Black men are saying that's not the direction we're going in. And in 2008, 95% of black men were encouraged and hopeful when President Obama ran for president. 95% supported him. That support has waned down to 70% for that group and falling. So I don't see that trend turning around in 21 days. I see that trend continuing to strengthen, continuing to grow, as all over social media and every other media outlet, black men are now speaking out saying no more. We're not for that. We're not going for it. That's not our lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that that's a great point, and I'm seeing that as well all across the state. We're constantly talking about the policies, right? You and I are usually talking about education policy, which obviously when we talk about raise a child up in the way that they should go, more and more of every community realizes we've got a problem. And in particular, when we're talking about the African American community, who for a large part are in our urban areas, and their kids are being left behind. And you and I both know, you talked about that love that we have for our kids. That transcends race and socioeconomics and demographics and location and everything else. That is what great parents all feel. So is it too late to reverse the trends and the problems that we are seeing within the black community?
It's not too late to reverse the trends and the problems we're seeing in the black community. That's why I'm glad of this. I'm looking at this new trend of black men are standing up and saying, hey, no more. No more. We're not going to call Donald Trump a racist. We're not going to call him a racist because we haven't seen him do anything racist. You know, when you tell us to vote for somebody because they're black or vote for them because they're female, then that's racist. Or when you say to black men that we're gonna give $1 million, up to $20,000 forgivable loans to black men, and then we're gonna legalize marijuana, that is racist. So give me some welfare and give me some weed, and I'm gonna be all right, okay? No, that is a racist stereotype, racist. And that should offend every straight black man in the world, because you don't come at us like that.
Right.
And so one of the things that they've done is they've dug themselves in, and a line is drawn in the sand, and you're seeing more and more black men jump on this side of that line, and that's gonna reverse the trend, the school to prison pipeline, the men that are away from their families. You're gonna see men coming back and dealing with their families, and their families dealing with them in a different kind of way, because we now realize that the devil was in the details, and that is the policies. And we bought into a lot of the left policies, and those policies have denigrated our families. And so now we're starting to see, and this is a moment of jubilee for me. When this week, when I can thank Barack Obama for doing that, because he didn't come out with the outcome he thought he was going to come out with, but it was just the outcome that we needed to bring black men together and say, who do they think they are? Telling us how we feel we're misogynistic and we're against women if we don't vote for this person they're telling us to vote for. I'm not going to give that person any credit on air, but we know who's running for president on that side of the ticket, and say, if we don't vote for her, then we got a problem with women. No, we don't have a problem with women. We have a problem with people who have terrible policies.
That's right.
We have a problem with people who have no policies.
So that's,
I don't even think they have any policies.
That is part of the problem, is the no policy.
Exactly.
I'm going to buy you off. I'm going to try and buy you off with, what'd you say, $20,000 loans forgivable?
Up to $20,000 loans.
Is that legal? Can you just say,
no.
That sounds very racist. And weed.
Yeah, it's weed.
That's awful. Like, that is awful.
To hear that that shows you how disconnected they are from the black community, from black families, and real black men. We don't want no weed. We don't want you to give us a handout. We want good education systems with career technology education, work-based learning, so that we can get into jobs and do a good job and earn a really good living for our families. That's what we want in America.
I'm really that is just that awful painting of a very stereotypical picture that would be the policy proposed is horrifying to me, and that anyone would be encouraging her. Somebody told them to say that. Somebody said, "Hey, I got a great idea," and they're trying to win an election, obviously. But how disgustingly disrespectful.
Yeah,
that's gross.
Yeah, an insult to our intelligence.
It is. So let's go back to we touched on this a little bit earlier. Let's talk about education, because we're on a mission together to empower every single parent across the great state of Texas, regardless of their race or income or any other factor, with the ability to select the very best school for their child. And I vividly remember an event that you and I were blessed to do in inner city Houston at the Rock Church, and which is there mostly African Americans, blacks were attending. Mm-hmm. And I can remember walking on stage with you and the great George Foreman and our great governor leading. And you could see there were some people that were skeptical. They didn't know why we were there and what we were going to talk about, right? And by the end of that parent empowerment event, talking about empowering parents with education freedom, that you get to pick the school that your child goes to, that you could have access to career and technical education so your child could graduate high school going into an awesome paying field. HVAC workers are making $90K out the gate. Electricians, plumbers, oil and gas. And they swarmed the stage. And it was encouraging and exciting to see that, because the black community gets it. They want to ensure their children are well educated, and that's what every parent wants. So let's talk about the state of black education. You said the state. What's going on with our kids in our schools?
Right now, and you well know that. You very well know this, Mandy. We're in a tough spot right now. Public education. There's some great public schools. There are some wonderful public schools, but there are some public schools that have not been performing well for decades. Yeah. And we call them chronically failing schools. And those chronically failing schools are located in these certain zip codes. And these parents who are in those zip codes can't get out. If there's a private school or if there's a charter school outside that zip code, they can't get out. Mm-hmm. And so they're locked into these chronically failing schools that we now call the school to prison pipeline. One of the things that I discovered is about 80% of the folks who are locked up in Texas prisons are reading at or below a 4th grade level. However, over half of that population, once they got to prison, were assessed and diagnosed with dyslexia. Now, dyslexia can be redirected at the 3rd grade level, at the 2nd and 3rd grade level, through assessment and intervention. Mm-hmm. But this had never happened. And so what ended up happening was, in the inner city, the only diagnosis they would give you, or label that they would give you, would be that you're dumb or you're slow. And no one wants that kind of label, because all the other kids laugh at them. And no one wants to read out loud. When it's their turn to read in class, they start acting up so that they can get kicked out of class. And not knowing that this child may have dyslexia, something that we can deal with. So this child gets kicked out of the class, so now he becomes a discipline problem. Next thing you know, they're kicked out of school. But there's a group of people who will accept them, and they're out on the street, and they call them gangs. And they get accepted into these gangs, and next thing you know, they're in the criminal justice system. So one of the things that we're at the cusp of doing right now, Representative Steve Toth passed a bill last session, HB 3928, last session, that placed dyslexia in the category of learning disabilities. And so now our next step is to get all of our schools funded with early assessment for dyslexia and early intervention for dyslexia in this upcoming session. Mm-hmm. That alone it won't close the school to prison pipeline completely, but about 70%, which is a whole lot. Look at all the people we'll be able to save in the black, brown, and every community.
Right.
But the challenge with the black community is we make up 12% of the state population, but we make up 34% of the prison population. That little group, and 44% if you count prisons and jails. And so, what this will do for black men, just this in education, would transform the lives of black men and black families completely.
Yeah.
And so education is the key. Now you take that, we get them reading on the right grade level, right? Next step is not every child is going to go and get a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degree in liberal arts and sciences. Some of us, I remember when we had vocational education, which now we call career technology education, when we had vocational education in the schools, our dropout rate was less than 1%. Some of us want to go into industry. Some of us want to become electricians, plumbers, welders, who make a very, very good, decent living and have families and then be taxpayers and not be on the tax system, see? So that's what black men want. We long for that. All you have to do is give us a shot at the great American dream.
That's right.
And we will fight like hell to get there. We are honest men. We're honest people. We love our families. We love our kids. And we teach our boys and girls the exact same thing. But we teach them, don't beg for nothing. You know, you get out and you work.
I think that's beautiful, and that does sum up parenthood, fatherhood, when we're talking about men, particularly in the black community. But fatherhood, I hear you talk proudly about your children, all the Johnsons.
I know, right?
And, you know, it's one of those things that deep down innate God-given love to protect and provide for our children, every parent feels that. If they are given the opportunity to grow in their parenthood and their skills and make sure that they have access to what their kids need. And it's a purpose, right? Every individual has a purpose. And it is, when we talk about earlier in the conversation of what is going on right now as we're leading into this presidential election, it is completely disgusting is just the best word to break down an entire demographic of men who love their families, want to work hard, and to imply that they can't or won't, and that they can be bought off with up to $20,000 and some weed. That's gross.
Yeah, no other way to put it.
There's no other way to put it, and but I'm grateful to you for saying the quiet parts out loud, saying the truth, which is that, look, we all just have different levels of melanin on our skin, and the desires that we all have to grow and prosper and raise our families. That's what black men, white men, brown men, they all share.
Exactly.
They all share. And we must provide the pathway, which is through freedom. I mean, we know what has made America great, and that is freedom. Every single man, woman, and child free to make decisions that are best for our families.
And the main thing right now is to realize we're in a fight. We're in a fight.
Yeah.
We're in a fight for school choice. We're in a fight for parents to have the right to make the best educational decisions for their children.
Yeah.
That's a fight, but it shouldn't be a fight, but it is a fight. And we're getting a lot of the opposition. Most of our opposition is coming from the left. The problem is that sometimes we don't want to fight. We just want to live. We just want to live.
Yeah.
But we have to wake up and we have to fight, simply because there is the beast out there that wants to control us and put us under the government lid and take away our freedoms. It's forever out there. and we have to stand up against that rising tide of ignorance.
Yep.
And we have to beat it back with the knowledge, understanding the policy. No, I don't want something as simple as some drug to drug me, or a few bucks that'll be gone in no time, up to $20,000. What is that going to get you? It's not going. And she says that's going to be for a business. How are you going to start a business with $20,000?
If you haven't been educated, how are you going to start a business?
Period. You see, we need to deal with the policies. One of the things that I really love about the Trump administration, he was the first one that came out with the Next Step Act, with the First Step Act. Now, God willing, he gets elected, he'll be a Next Step Act. But prison reform and criminal justice reform. You have to reform these systems. You and I right now, we're engaged in education reform.
Yep.
Because if it's not working, don't keep doing it. You have to fix it. School choice, we're fighting that fight, and we get up and we fight that fight every day. But the thing about it is, it's really common sense. If it's not working for you, then you're free to go. Go to where it's working for you. But this system that we're in says, no, you're not free to go. You're only free to go if you got money to go. If you don't have money to go, and you're a single parent, which 75% of black women are right now, single parents living on one paycheck, they're not free to go.
No.
But they're paying taxes. They're paying taxes, and they're being forced to stay in a zip code where they know that it's a meat grinder. That school is a meat grinder for their children. Yeah. And the thing about it is there's no competition, so the meat grinder stays there grinding up kids every day.
Yeah.
And grinding them and putting them out and putting them right in that school to prison pipeline. But with school choice, now there's competition. That's where the meat grinding stops, and the real teaching and learning begins.
That's right.
You see, parents are fighting that fight. We're fighting that fight with parents right alongside of them to make sure that they have freedom. And we want to make Texas the freest place on earth to live. That's what Texas is all about, being free. And so those folk who come to Texas, we welcome you. New York, Chicago, California, but don't come with a New York state of mind. You need to come trying to adopt a Texas state of mind. Because there's a certain way that we do things in Texas. And I'm so proud of our state, and I'm so proud of our governor for standing up for parents, for standing up for parent empowerment, and drawing a line in the sand and not accepting less. That's leadership. And when we talk about not just school choice and how that's going to transform the education system that we have, is going to do wonders for black men and black families. But Representative Toth, good Christian representative, great man, good friend, he brought forward this bill. He recognized something. And it wasn't marching in the streets, it wasn't carrying any signs, wasn't kicking down any doors. He just recognized that, hey, there's a large portion of this population that's suffering from dyslexia, and it's not being detected. They don't have the public schools not putting forth the resources to assess and then bring in early intervention. So I'm going to write a bill to do it. He wrote a bill to do it and got the bill passed. This bill will close the school to prison pipeline about 70%. Just this bill alone, once it's implemented, and implementation, you can pass a bill. Next step is implementation.
That's right.
And that's the phase we're in now. It's the new law. We have to implement the law, and we can save a lot of lives through education. And the governor, again, God bless his heart, the governor had a study done, and it revealed that 95% of those who are career technology education concentrators, 95% of them graduate from high school. And 70% of that group go on to post-secondary school. So it seems like a no-brainer. We ought to have CT in every school, and we ought to have a very robust career technology education program, work-based learning. Those are the things that we're fighting to achieve, and we have the right leader for our time in Governor Abbott. And you've been right there, Mandy, lockstep with Governor Abbott all the way down the line. And I appreciate you as well as our TPPF family.
Well, I'm just a mom that's advocating alongside you and our great governor and the team here and parents all across Texas. But that really is, when you get down to the heart of the issues, is about the freedom and about the goodness of leaders like Governor Abbott, Representative Toth, and so many others that are willing to stand in the gap, call things out when there's a problem, and fight to do what is right. And that is what all of this is about. It's about ensuring that every parent has the right to select the best education for their child, which would include using an education savings account for the career and technical education. It's about ensuring that districts are testing children. I think if a kid's not reading on grade level by the third grade, they must be assessed for dyslexia. And I got great news. House Bill 3, they have what I would call a slush fund in there, because they allowed for 45% of career and technical education and special education funding to not have to be used on career and technical or special education funding, which is horrifying. But the great news is the money's there. Let's get it implemented. If kids are not reading on grade level, let's find out why. Let's get them in the right environment. Let's make sure they have access to the right tools. And I believe that that will not only change the future of millions of young people's lives, but it'll change the future of Texas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a fight that we're in. And my prayer is that this conversation that you and I are having right now gets out to the black community, brown community, every community, but particularly the black community. Yeah. Simply because we have leadership that has bought into a narrative, the left's narrative, and they're following that narrative lockstep. And that's where the disconnect is. That's how someone who's running for president can offer black men some weed and up to $20,000. It might be $5,000 for all we know. You say up to. It could be where, yeah, we said up to, but we're only going to give you $5,000. But that's how those folk can make that kind of statement, because they're not connected to black men. They're connected to a stereotype of black men.
Right.
That's not who we are.
Right.
But they don't take the time to try to figure out or learn or talk to us to figure out who we are. Mm-hmm. But thank God that got out in the ethos, because now enough of us are talking to them and telling them who we are. Mm-hmm. We're not who you think we are. Yeah. And we're not going to vote the way you want us to vote. And we're not going to advocate the way you want us to advocate, because what you're advocating for is a stereotype of us that doesn't depict who we really are in our hearts, in our lives, and what we do every single day. Yep. So you can say whatever. My grandmother used to say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never. You can say whatever you want to say about me, but that doesn't change who I am.
That's right.
You see, I'm a working man. I'm a family man. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I'm an honest man. I'm a Christian. That's who I am. And that's what we need those folk on the other side to understand. That's who we are. So when you tell us that we should support abortions and killing babies, that's not who we are. When you tell us that we should support men marrying men and women marrying, no, that is not who we are. When you tell us that we should accept welfare and accept getting high on drugs, no, that's not who we are. But if you say to us, you should fight for an honest education system, an effective education system, yes, that's who I am. If you say to us that we should fight for men being able to get a job and take care of their families, yeah, that's who I am. I should prosper because I'm an American. Yes, that's who I am. See, That's who we are. And I'm saying that specifically to people like Barack Obama, Kamala Harris. That's who we are. You're approaching us the wrong way. And that's the reason why you're getting the backlash that you're getting. And it won't stop in 21 days. With that being said, partner, thank you so much for a wonderful show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been the State of Black Texas, and we will be back with you with the next episode. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for coming. We're signing off.